Cheers for coming. A lot of people here. I'm super nervous, so bear with.
That's all right. Do you want to give us an introduction to yourself, where you came from, where it started?
Yeah. My name's Pasquale, as Josh said. Thanks for getting me down here, Josh. So I started DJing about 20 years ago. I bought a pair of decks when I was 18, some like belt drive, like vinyl decks, because CDJs didn't exist then. I sort of bought them, went to college for about 6 months, realised that really wasn't for me, and just sort of went home every lunchtime to practice DJing. Did that for about probably another 6 months, 8 months, and then just got my first gig in a club, which was it was in Loughborough. It was nothing special. Played there sort of the first hour for about 5 years to nobody. That's where I learned sort of my trade as being a DJ, electronic music. Never really played anything else. Never played sort of chart music. I don't like that, so I never did that. It's always been sort of house music based. That's where. Is this mic really working?
Yeah. You're coming out.
Just sort of did that. Very local. Used to go out to places in the area. There was a massive nightclub called Passion, the nightclub was called Emporium, but the night was called Passion, and they had like 2 rooms. One was trance, one was house. That was probably where I sort of learned how to watch DJs and see how they perform, and seeing some like massive eyes. That some of them are still big now, some of them aren't. People like Eric Murillo, Danny Ramplin, Harry Chuchu Romero, who's recently changed his name to Harry Romero. And sort of just watched them. I've ended up playing at Passion, probably like, can't really remember the years. What year would that have been? Don't know. Probably when I was about 23, 24. Played there for a couple of years. And then started my own night, because that was really the only place I was DJing. So moving on to sort of the promoting side of things, back then you basically DJ'd on your own, and then you made it big, or you DJ'd and promoted your night so that you could play with the DJs that you wanted to play with around the country or around the world. But nowadays it's very different. Now you DJ and you produce, and that gets you to where you want to be. But it was different back then, really. That's basically my story, and then sort of like DJing through the years. I've DJed a lot of different places, but we'll probably get onto that a bit later, I think.
So, like, why electronic music? Was there a certain artist? Where did the passion come from?
When I was 15, about 15, 16, I got a tape given to me. One side was DJ Hype, and the other side was a DJ called Darren J, and they were like jungle DJs. And from listening to that tape, I just got invested in the sound, really, of like jungle, like raves. I was too young to go to raves then, but like the idea of them or hearing about them was something that was like awesome. You know what I mean? Like going to random fields and just dancing till the early hours. And then when I did eventually start going out, that was illegal, so there was no doing that anymore. But then it obviously moved into nightclubs, so you just sort of followed it around. Just sort of followed it around with it sort of got into a bit more house music, because at that time house music was a little bit more commercial, so it was easier to get into and get hold of. And then my friend who got me into DJing, he was already DJing, and I went around his house and sort of started playing on his decks a little bit as well. And I just sort of got the bug for it, and he had like some great like house music records like from back in the day. That's it really.
You mentioned DJ Hype. It must feel pretty sick that you started off listening to him in your car when you were 15, and now you're booking him for your own nights. The first time we booked him was like pretty surreal. For sure. It was definitely an idol moment, I guess. But fanboyed him a little bit. I did. I told him that exact story. He wasn't that impressed, if I'm honest.
yeah, it's cool to like meet all people that, yeah, there's obviously idols-wise, Youssef, Paul Wolford are probably the two guys that made me, when I first saw them two DJing, it was like, right, okay, I'm not very good. Like, these are amazing like DJs who really knew how to work a crowd. So that was like what I aspired to, I guess.
Cool, so we move on to the business idea, DBE. What made you think it would work?
Yeah, so DBE started, so before DBE I was doing another night in Leicester called Shavu with 3 other friends of mine. And that was electronic music as well. We booked like quite a lot of like artists like Annie Mac, Justice, Scratch Perverts. It was very varied. It was very much sort of the ethos of DBE where just anything goes really. That was more sort of house based as well because that's what we were playing at that time. That was one room, and then the other room was a bit more sort of experimental, I suppose. Breaks was quite big in them days, so we used to book a lot of those acts, and hip hop as well. I think we booked DJ Yoda and DJ Food and like Scratch Perverts. They were like massive at sort of 4-6 deck mixing. It was like pretty impressive, really. And then I also worked at a nightclub in Loughborough, where Firefly is now. It was called Rapture, and a friend of mine, Nick Corelli, who was a DJ as well, he was like quite accomplished. He basically opened that nightclub. I managed it just as a normal sort of club manager, and that was exclusively sort of electronic music. So we tried that for a couple of years. It was all right for a bit, and then it just sort of, I think Loughborough probably wasn't ready for a weekly electronic music club. I don't think any town really is, if I'm honest. But yeah, again, we booked like people like the Audio Bullies, Fedde Le Grand, Chase and Status. They came to town as well once. And then from that, I met a guy called Sean. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. Give me a sec. So I met a guy called Sean, who was the co-founder of DBE. He lived with me. He worked at the club with me, but then he lived with me in his final year. He was at Loughborough Uni as well, doing maths. And we were just sat on the sofa one night. There wasn't really anything to do in Loughborough at that time. It was just all very much sort of chart music and shoes to go out, shirts tucked in, all that sort of stuff. So we thought there must be a market for it. At that time, yeah, we just sort of sat on the sofa, came up with this idea of having these series of parties that were only secret. We came up with a name called Dubborough. Inventive. The dub bit was because it was like dubstep based, because at the time dubstep was like quite a big sound. So the first party we started, and it was you had to we invited 10 people to a group on Facebook. At the time, Facebook wasn't like massive. Well, it was, but it was obviously not being used as it is nowadays. So we invited 10 people to a Facebook group, and then when they all accepted, we messaged them. We didn't tell them anything about it. Then when they accepted, we said, oh, right, now you've accepted the group, thanks a lot. We're about to start an electronic music night, well, a dubstep night, not electronic music, a dubstep night. And if you know 10 other people that you think might be into it, invite them to this like private group, and we'll go from there. So the first one, we invited a load of people to it, and then we sort of set an event up and said, to come to the event, you've got to email an email address. I think we ended up getting like 140 email addresses. Nobody knew where they were going at this point. So on the day, we basically emailed everyone where to go. It was a quid entry, and it was held at a pub on Nottingham Road, on the way down to the train station in Loughborough. I don't know if anybody knows it. I think it's a gym now, like a box, it's called Box or something. But behind that, there used to be a function room, and we just basically took over that, put a sound system in it, and just put a party on. I think 80 people turned up, and we lost like 25 quid. So yeah, I mean, that was the first one. But yeah, when we sort of started the night, I said to Sean, because I'd been doing this other night in Leicester, I was losing thousands of pounds every month. Yeah, I had a job, so it was all right. Not really, it was okay. But because there was 4 of us, we sort of split the costs, and it just ended up being a massive learning curve, I guess. But I remember saying to Sean, there's no way I'm putting any more money into this promoting shit. So we did the night and we sort of gradually built it up. I think, yeah, the first one we did was 80 people. The second one we did was we called it a Magical Mystery Tour, which we still do now. And that was 150 people, but it was all very like low budget, like low cost. And then from there we sort of saw that there was a bit of a market for people that wanted to go out and try something different. But yeah, the sort of numbers that we were talking like were 150, 300, like 250. But yeah, the original idea was just to do 10 secret parties and then stop. That was the idea.
Where did you get the idea of doing them secret? Why did you not just market them out to everyone?
A couple of reasons really. One, harking back to the rave days of like nobody knowing where they're going. That was like a bit of a throwback to that. And then another reason, which is probably the bigger reason, is that you'll probably still find this now. If someone says to you, oh, we're putting a party on in such and such, and you think to yourself, I'm not going to such and such, I don't care what's on there. Like, you'll get this like stigma attached to a venue. So we thought like, why don't mention the venue, and then people will just want to come because of the event, and then wherever it is, it's up to you to make it good in that sense, which I think we did. Well, the first one was in a function room, it was like terrible. You know, like as a venue, it was terrible, but because we put a sound system in there and made the music was good, it made the event good. So we were trying to take away the preconception of where it might have been. Yeah, that was basically why it's secret.
That's cool. Talk about the history of the business. So it started off as these 10 parties, but how has it grown? Where's it gone from? So yeah, the 10 parties idea was because Sean was finishing uni. So after that, we just said, yeah, we'll just call it quits. But we got to like the 10th one, and we did that one here. That was the first one we did here, and that was the first time we didn't mention where it was, but we had to, obviously, sort of a week before. Sean finished uni. And obviously we were left with, I think we ended up getting about 1,500 in on that last ever Dubbra. So I said to Sean, I was like, I don't really want to work anymore in the day. Because I used to work at Phones for You as well. I was a salesman, pretty good. I was good. I was top 3 salesman in the country twice. 2 months running. Quite a good accolade, that.
Yeah, that's Actually, does anybody even know what Phones for You is anymore? Yeah. You do, yeah? Okay, yeah, fair enough, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so I said I don't want to do that anymore because it's not, I just didn't want to work for anyone. So I sort of said to Sean, why don't we carry on? And he moved away, obviously, from Loughborough. He got a job in Leeds at Sky. We did it for a year together. Like, he'd come down and like we did this sort of second phase of Dubbra, but this time it was all named venues, and we did it, and we booked like proper guests, not proper guests, we booked like more guests, and at that point the sound had changed a little bit as well. So like our taste had changed. Simon here as well, he was a massive part of it at the beginning, and Jake as well. And I guess we were just going out and hearing different things and realising that we wanted to put on like different styles of music. So it moved from this dubstep thing into this sort of more varied like bass music, and just trying to put on guests that were sort of up and coming, or like the sound that we thought was good at the time. We still had the dubstep DJs. Yeah, I think in the early days, in the first 10 parties, we booked Rusko, Scream, Subtract, MLK, Casper. That's why he's here, you see, to remind me. Yeah, so like we did book them anyway, but then when we went into this sort of multi-room thing, because we did them at Echoes, we moved to Echoes, and we still did a couple of secret parties and like the ones that still go on today, but the sort of base was at Echoes. Yeah, I think the first one we did was Benga, Nero in one room, and then Toddler T and a guy called Martello in the other room, which was like, you know, yeah, that was good at the time. It'll still be pretty good now, I guess.
How did you explain to these acts that your night was worth them coming to? Because they've got to think about it.
Yeah, early on it was quite difficult. I think early on, because we booked the likes of like Rusko, they were quite big at the time, but they were touring, so they were DJing. So we could sort of like ring the agent. My sort of contacts with agents from the previous night that was going on for sort of 5 years, gave me a little bit of a leg up, because at least they'd open my emails and say like, okay, cool. And then I'd explain that we were doing this thing in this town, explain the ethos of the secret party, and they bought into that. They liked the idea of that. So they came and played. I think the fourth one was Scream, and that was like when Scream had sort of made his big record of In for the Kill. I think that was out at that time, yeah. Although it was like quite underground for the area, like globally, I guess Scream was quite a big name anyway. Like getting there to being, not to being what he is now, but at that time he was quite big. So, yeah, speaking to agents, you just sort of have to explain what you're doing, and if they like the idea, then yes, they'll say yes. If not, I mean, we were also on a Thursday, which was to our advantage, because obviously weekends they'll do big cities, and weekdays they're okay, they can come and do like a regional sort of show. That's basically.
Did you have anyone early on when you were thinking about booking people that you tried to and you were really upset because you couldn't quite get them?
I can't, not really, not early on, only because we weren't ever going for like the megastars. Like I mentioned Subtract earlier, but at that time Subtract was like nothing. He wasn't really. He was a great artist and he was doing well on the electronic music scene, but he wanted to play out in the areas, like anywhere, just so that to get his name out there and sort of really like push it into the mainstream. He wasn't even headlining that night. Like that sort of, he was like second on the bill. So early on, no. Recently, like in the last sort of 5 years, yeah, there's definitely some artists that we've tried to get that potentially it just hasn't worked for us.
So when you work with artists, it's known in the music industry that oftentimes they've got quite big asks of you. How do you deal with an artist's expectation, and how do you deal with the audience expectation as well of it?
Do you mean in terms of like their requests or
like do they make requests?
You'll get the thing you find, which comes across like they're being like a bit awkward, but they're not really, I suppose. You'll get an artist that might want to play like a house artist he'll say yes to playing, no problem, but because of our multi-genre sort of rooms, they don't want to be put on lineups with a drum and bass DJ, just because that's not where they want to be seen, I suppose, as like an artist, which is cool to a point. Like I think we get away with it a bit more now because we've been doing it for so long. So like we've sort of proved that we can work, that does work. I think they're worried that they'll turn up, and because such and such is on in the main room playing drum and bass, nobody will be in their room because they want to hear them. But obviously, having come here and hearing, and being in here and DJing here, then that's cool. And then that sort of relates back to the agent, and the agent goes, actually, yeah, it's solid, no problem. I don't mind putting my artist in that club for that night because that one's been and they've liked it, so it's all worked out. You'll get a few like niggles with set times. That's quite a big one. Like if two headline DJs are playing at the same time, maybe one of them will say, I don't want to play at that time, I want to play at a different time because I don't want the possibility of my room emptying out. Which luckily doesn't happen very often here. So that's good for us, I suppose.
Yeah, cool. So how do you, when you're with an audience, something I've heard about you is that you always get the room right. So how do you pitch to an audience? How do you get the vibe?
When DJing?
Yeah, when you're playing some stuff.
It's probably just down to experience, I guess. I tend to play like the last set anyway, so I suppose at that point it's more a case of just playing the bigger records. I try and play like new records all the time. Yeah, I try and always play like new records, but obviously you have to sort of mix that in with older records. Warm-up sets are definitely the most difficult sets to do. Getting them right. Simon and Jake can do that really well. I like to think I can do warm-up sets well as well. Yeah, I mean, when I play the last hour, yeah, it's a fine balance, I suppose, between playing stuff that people know. They've been here a long time as well at that point of the night, so yeah, I suppose it's just experience, really. I think that's just, the more you do it, the more you understand what people sort of want, and the more records you listen to over the years, the more you realise that that record probably isn't for you to play out. It's a good record, but you can't fit it in, or you've got a record that you absolutely love and you can play it, and then it doesn't go down very well. That happens a lot, yeah. But then you go home and listen to it again, you're like, yeah, that is terrible, that record. Like, I don't know why I played that. But yeah, I think it's just the more you do it, the more you hone your skill and your reading of a crowd, I suppose. The reason I do the last set at DBE, I have to get this in, is because it's not because I'm like a big head or because I want to do it because I'm the big I am. It's because during the night I have to work and make sure that everything else goes all right. So I do the last set. That's one reason. So at the end it's cool. I can have a few beers and like party and DJ. Another reason is if I've got a guest on that plays till 4 o'clock and the room empties out because they've been here since 11:30, it makes me look like an idiot, and it makes me feel like, or it could potentially look to the artist that nobody wants to hear them. So I always try and put the guests on between 12 and 3, or 11 and half 2, 11 and 3, because that's the peak time of the night. That's when the guests should play. But I've had it a few times where guests have said, no, we should finish the night, and I've been like, okay, cool, you finish the night, and it's been fine. Like, it's been rammed, it's been great, but I just don't want to ever put myself in that position where the room drops off, and then, because it does drop off, obviously, because people are tired.
So your events are now super popular. They sell out months in advance sometimes. Why have you not thought about, or is there a reason you don't put on events every week? You haven't got a place where you go and do that?
Loughborough's too small to have events on. Well, definitely to have DBE on every week. It might look like, you know, it's rammed, there's 3 rooms, it's great, but I think the beauty of that is because it's monthly. Yeah. Last year, for example, we did end of September, middle of October, end of October, middle of November, and you felt, or I definitely saw, that some of those parties weren't as busy as they should have been. So it was important to do that, to learn, but it was also obviously a mistake in hindsight, because some of the artists that we brought should have easily sold out the rooms that we wanted them to be on in, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But it's cool because you learn, and also with doing an event every week, it's not special then. Like it isn't. It just doesn't feel. I don't want to come out every week to a DBE. Why should I expect anybody else to come out to a DBE every week? And like that's the way I see it really. There's obviously nights that start in Loughborough as well, like other nights, smaller nights, like you've got numerous like events that go on that are great, and that's really what Loughborough needs. It does need to have electronic music every week because it's a big scene at the moment, and it's great to have new promoters come along and do their take on electronic music, you know. So that's great to see, and it's great to help out where I can as well with those events.
It's cool that you talk about all these other events, but they're your competitors. Do they ever worry you? Do you ever worry they might take the market away?
Competition's healthy, for sure. Even what I try and do is talk to everyone, and we all try and talk to each other and make sure that our dates don't clash. Because ultimately, if your dates clash and you go head to head with someone, the only people that two people that lose are the customers, because both places are half full, because nobody ever wins, nobody ever takes everyone. So you'll get a splitting crowd, and also that crowd don't get the best experience for that particular night. So even with TJ, who does obviously all Showstar events, I speak to him on a regular basis because we both know that, yes, like to everybody else, there's 16,000 students in Loughborough, but when you actually break it down, there's probably 3,000 people that go out every week. So from a business point of view, we talk to each other and we say, right, okay, you've got such and such on this date, I won't do that day, I won't do that week, I won't do the week after, or, I won't do that week. And then you just try and work out your date so that you work with each other. But obviously it's inevitable. Eventually somebody will try and go head to head with you. Well, not try, but they'll try and do their own thing because they think that there's a market for it, when unfortunately Loughborough's too small. Like London, there's 12 million people. Of course there's nights on. Like there's nights on every single day of the week. Even Nottingham, suffers from sort of people putting nights on at the same time and both suffering. So yeah, I try and work with everyone, like to a certain degree, like sharing dates and making sure that certain acts aren't booked across both sort of events. That's important to me. Yeah, and it's great to see that when the nights that do start in Loughborough, they do call me and say like, look, we want to do this not when we can, that's like the wrong thing to say. We want to do this, and I say, right, well, my dates are this, so just stay around those, and that's probably why it all works in harmony, I guess.
You talk about different cities around the country. Have you ever thought about taking DBE further? I know you've had a little stint in London.
Yeah, we did London. Another guy that was at uni here, Martin Puddy, he moved to London, got a job, he works in the music industry now, and he said, let's start DBE in London, and I was like, yeah, let's do it, because I trusted him, because he did a placement with DBE 1 year, well, in his placement year in Loughborough, and he knew how the business worked inside and out, and the ethos and what we were actually trying to achieve. So I said, yeah, let's go for it. And we did like a year at XOYO in the week, which was amazing. We did like 12 parties. We just used one room, the upstairs room, which was obviously a bit smaller. And yeah, to be honest, I think 9 of them were eventually either sold out or hit capacity, and 3 of them were terrible. Like, I think one of them we got like 30 people in. But that was a monthly in the week in London at XOYO, which was a great experience for us. We wanted to move to a weekend, so we came out of XOYO and moved to a club called Basing House, and we did 3 parties there. We tried to take it to the next level. So the idea of moving out of XOYO was to go to a weekend, take it to the next level, book some DJs, and then try and take it forward in London. We did 3, they were good. They didn't really progress as a night, so we weren't really going anywhere. We were just treading water. We were losing a bit of money, which was fine for the short term, but I couldn't really see anything come out of that. So we stopped it, and now we've took a step back, and we might go back to London, we might not. It depends like who steps in, I guess, or what happens. But moving to other cities, I don't think DB works without somebody fully invested in it. So having another myself, Jake, or Puddy, or a Simon in a different city, yes, that'd be cool, because then they'd know exactly what we want to do and achieve as a night. But at the moment, if you sort of go to another, I could go to another university and go, do you want to like have DB as a brand? They could give me some money, I could turn up, DJ, but it wouldn't be a DB, it'd just be a waste of time. And also other cities have got like thousands of other nights like that are better than ours or are more established than ours. So yeah, I don't have any sort of interest. We did Leicester as well. We did Leicester for a bit. Again, Leicester was great. You know, we had Camel Fat, Bontan, Max Chapman, but again, we felt that we weren't progressing as DBE as a night. We were just putting artists on, and it was good, but it just wasn't. We weren't like making a mark, which is which I want to make a mark wherever we go. That's the idea of it, really.
It's interesting you talk about a previous student who was a placement student, which brings us on to kind of the DBE fam, which is a great idea, and it's an interesting way to distribute tickets and to use a different group of students. Where did that idea come from? Yeah,
so the DBE fam, I do realise that's a cheesy name, by the way. It came about really from when the Dubbra days, I guess. It was because Dubbra was such a tight-knit, like really tight-knit group of people that felt part of something, which is what a night should be. It should be a group of people that feel a part of something. And people wanted to help promote that night. So I was like, okay, cool. And obviously, as you expand, you sort of need a few more people to help you promote that night. So we sort of came up with this idea of having, well, I say come up with this idea. I used to work for a company called, like in the middle of all this DB stuff, I worked for a company called Sound Channel they started Hideout Festival. So I worked for them for about 9 months and did a lot of social media for them. And sort of took a couple of ideas from them, and they had this network of people. You've seen it, Part Life do it, like everyone does it. You know, just a group of people that you share a load of stuff, or you sell a couple of tickets and you get a free ticket. Like it's basically that. But I feel what's different here is that I try and get people who are fully invested in the night, who come to the night, who want to be part of the night, and then just sort of made a group of people that they help me share stuff online to get the virality up, and then we've got another set of people that sort of distribute, like the reps that distribute tickets, and they get commission. And I feel they don't, like, when people say they're employed or work for us, I don't really like that. I just want people to sort of be involved in the night and want it to do well, and if I can reward them, then that's cool. Do you know what I mean? That's the idea behind that, really.
You give a lot of students a great opportunity to DJ and to do all the different things. Have you ever had any particular standout students who are doing it now or have made it?
Yeah, absolutely. DJ wise, you've got Latman, Joe. He used to be at Loughborough Uni. He was a resident for us, and obviously he went on to like great things. He was also a resident at Stealth in Nottingham. He's from Nottingham, and he played there every week. And he came to Loughborough. He played for us, and it's great to see him move forward. Jake, obviously, he makes music, and DJs like all over. Simon, by the way, who I keep speaking to, his DJ name is Sleazy Wonder, and he plays Simon knows more about music than anybody I've ever met, like in an insane way. There's been lots of students that have done really well, from the guy I mentioned earlier, Martin Puddy. He works for an artist management agency now. He looks after PBR Street Gang, Paul Wolford, and somebody else who he's just signed that I'm not allowed to say yet. Abby was another student from Loughborough, and now she's got her own PR company. She promotes records for Jamie Jones, and she promotes Melody as well, and I think she took Melee on, and she does the press relations basically for their records, for Hot Creations, and Melee sort of like touring and all that. Yeah, who else?
D.
Yeah, DJ D, he's another one. He's Deeren was another DJ who lived with Puddy, and he's garage DJ and garage producer, and he's now another. Well, he actually finished uni and then went to work for Ice Cream Records, who released the record Double 99 R.I.P. Groove, and he worked for them for a bit. And now he's another alias called Led Astray, and he's making sort of breaks records, and they're sort of getting some really big hype on in DJ Mag, and is it Stan Tamori's label that he was signed to as well? Punks. Yeah, he's on Rinse FM quite a lot. So yeah, there's been a lot of. I'm sure there's others that right now my nerves have took over and I can't remember, but yeah, there's loads of people that have worked for. People that have come to Loughborough that have been involved with DBE that have gone on to do things in electronic music, which is awesome to see.
Cool. So when you work with music acts, have you ever had a time when the night was just not going right, or you turned up and things weren't going right, and you had to think on the fly and you had to sort it out?
Yep. Yeah, there's been a few. Okay, so we did a night once at Echoes. This is quite a funny story, actually. Do you remember that night? So we did a night at Echoes once. So me, Sean, Simon, and a few friends went to Festival one year, and we listened to Greg Wilson, and that changed our lives. We listened to Chic, changed our lives. And then one day we went to see a guy called Untold, who we'd heard about, great DJ, amazing, and he was in the Bollywood tent, and he absolutely tore it apart, next level. It was just such a special moment. Anyway, me and Sean went, we're going to book that guy, definitely. Anyway, so we got back to Loughborough, and we basically got his agent, went, look, we heard him, we told him the whole story that I've just said to you, it was amazing, blah, blah, blah. We'd like to book him for this event. Cool. He said, yeah, no worries. How much is it? And he just said a figure, and we were like, yeah, no worries. No negotiation. Just straight in. And he went, brilliant. Sent the contract. I think it took about 10 minutes. So that was booked. So from that, we had a guy called Untold. And then we thought, right, we'll bolster the lineup up, bulk it up a bit. So we ended up booking Untold, Drop the Line from New York, Keto, which was she was a big DJ, a big dubstep DJ at the time. Castle, this guy from Canada, I think it was, and it was his European debut. So we thought, yeah, get him, definitely that'll work. Toddler T. I think Red Light, yeah. Toddler T, Red Light. So it was Toddler T, Red Light. Who else?
That was it.
No, yeah. Toddler T, Red Light in one room, and then Jacob Plant as well. He was like resident, wasn't he? So yeah, these in this room. Drop the Lime, Untold, Keto in another room. We were like, no problem. This is easily going to sell out. So we launched it. I mean, even to this day, I'm not sure if some of them are now. Like, so back then, people were like, okay, this is not anything like you've done before. So we released it. It was okay, like the initial hype. And then we got to the party and we'd sold like 300 tickets. And this is like 300 tickets in 2 rooms of Echoes. So like, you can imagine what the night was actually like. It was a massive learning curve because the party before that, we'd had Mr. Jam, Scratch Perverts, Breakage, and then Scratch Perverts, KTB, Breakage, Mr. Jam. KTB was actually someone that was added onto the lineup later on, and the agent rang us up and said, can you put this girl on for us called KTB? And we were like, not sure about that. Like we've waxed our budget, so there is no more money left. And he was like, come on, do me a favour. I was like, okay, 600 quid. So we paid her 600 quid, and as the party approached, this record that Benga made with KTB just kept getting like more and more hype and more hype, to the point where I think it was like either the week before or the week after, the record On a Mission, was it On a Mission?
Yeah, it's in the charts.
Yeah, it went to number 1, I think. Anyway, it like hit like top 5 definitely, and obviously at that point it was rammed. It was the best, like one of the greatest like sort of launches for a new term that we'd ever had. So obviously this next party that I was just saying, with all the lineup, we obviously got too big for our boots and went, we can do what we want now, and just put on all these DJs, and nobody turned up. So yeah, we learnt our lesson there.
Yeah, we previously had a little chat and you told me a really interesting and quite funny story about DJ Hype. Do you want to talk about that one?
Oh yeah, the DJ Hype story. So yeah, when we booked DJ Hype once in room 1, he was just about to go on and nothing worked. So DJ Hype is renowned to be like a legend. He's a total legend, but if stuff doesn't work for him, understandably, totally understandably, he just won't go on, because like he just says, well, it doesn't work. But to the point where one of the decks wasn't working, like one of the vinyl decks just wasn't working, because he uses Serato, the Tractor. Serato. So we're obviously panicking. Jake definitely sorted this out, I think, on this night. Yeah, he was annoyed that he couldn't get on when he was supposed to get on, so he couldn't perform to the crowd that were there waiting to see him. So that was like a crazy 20 minutes. He ended up playing for 40 minutes, and he came off and he said, look, thanks for booking me, but definitely book me again, because I don't feel like I did the crowd justice or you guys justice. So it was really cool of him to say that. But yeah, obviously going back to earlier, him being one of the first people I listened to, at those points I'm gutted, because stuff doesn't work when it should do, and it's pretty easy. It's not easy, but it just should work at that time. So yeah, that was a hairy moment, for sure.
So DBE, have you ever gone for investment, or is it just been your project?
Yeah, no, we've never asked for money off any companies, or we've never asked for investment. Just basically because I feel promoting is so, trying to pick my words really. Promoting is super risky. So one, I don't think anyone in their right business mind would lend money to a company that on paper doesn't make a good return. Do you know what I mean? It's you wouldn't go down to a bookies and put 100 quid down to maybe get 120 quid back. Obviously you'd do that on a favourite, let's say for a horse, but when you're doing something that's got so many variables, it doesn't make much business sense to put 15 grand down to maybe make 18 back, which luckily we're at a stage now where we can calculate how much money to put down to begin with on the basis of what we've done in the past, so that we think we'll definitely make that back and then make a little bit more on top to like live and stuff. But yeah, the preconception of like promoters being absolutely loaded only really works at the very top, like, you know, Glastonbury, like your big festivals, your really successful, even your really successful promoters will have nights where they're visibly not as busy, but obviously they've done a series, so it works for them. I'm sure that, like, we went to watch Chic live at the Warehouse Project. The venue holds 1,800, or the room holds 1,800, maybe 1,500, maybe 2,000, but you're not booking Chic that are 150 grand and making that back. Like, you know, that's just simple math says you're not going to make that back, but from their point of view, they've gone, right, we've got a series of events on, let's do this because we want to do this, and it just elevates it. And, you know, Chic live in a car park is cool, do you know what I mean? But yeah, back to sort of myself, yeah, I wouldn't ask for investment from anyone, because I'd only want to lose the money that I've put forward, I guess. That's probably, I wouldn't expect anybody to risk that money. The scare as well. You get like, there's a fear as well. Obviously, when you put that kind of money down for a party, there's a fear to get up in the morning and make sure that you've done every single thing possible to make sure that as many people that can come have got the opportunity to come. You know, so yeah, that's another thing. The fear is strong with promoting.
Before we open up questions to everyone else in the audience, where do you see DBE going? Like, what's your grand view on that? Is it completely made it?
No, I'd like to take it to the next level really now. Like 10 years has been, I never thought we'd get to 10 years. Like, no way at all. Especially going on the previous night that I'd done. Like the previous night, we booked like Justice on like a weekend. They were dirt cheap and it was okay, you know. And at that point, Justice were like really, really good. And they'd made the big record of We Are Your Friends, and we booked them and we didn't sell out. So like when you think about that, like Annie Mac, like we've done Annie Mac we used to book Annie Mac a few times for that night. Again, like they were absolutely amazing nights, but we weren't making any money there. So obviously when I started DBE, it was a case of making a living. Like that was when we started DBE, the part of it, then yeah, it was about making a living, but yeah, I never thought we'd get to 10 years, definitely not. Like, it's not something that I thought was possible. Moving forward, probably, I'd like to do like an open field festival type thing, definitely, that's what I'm working towards at the moment. Nothing massive, just maybe, well, for the next stage, yeah, maybe something like one day, definitely work towards that, but that means sort of a lot of planning. Like I did work for Locate Me and Peter for a few years as well, whilst I was doing DBE, just because it just wasn't earning me enough money to live. So I did the social media for Peter when it first opened. I was there till May this year. I worked at Locate Me for a bit as well, doing their social media. So yeah, I suppose that shows that just the promoting side of things, to keep it as it is and as it has been, I've had to get sort of other work part-time to make sure that I can like eat food and stuff. There was times where I would go to my mum's and have to like borrow money off her and sort of make her cook me dinner. I mean, this is like a 28-year-old man that, you know, at this point I'm just trying to make it, if you like, or just trying to make a living out of something that I love, do you know what I mean? But I won't forget them days, because that's what gets me up in the morning, because my wife would kill me right now if I had no money to feed her, do you know what I mean, or to feed each other. So yeah, that's my next step really. I'd like to like move forward and take DBE another 5 years to go into like a larger scale event, which was the idea of doing the October 10 years. That was like a stopgap to try and get to where we need to be.
Which I must admit was a sick party.
Yeah.
So I'll start with the first question, a more personal one, which is on my little list, and that's if you could book one act, who would it be? like, who is your headline act that you'd really love to book?
Dead or alive?
Alive currently? Okay.
Andy C. I'd like to get Andy C. He's one DJ that we haven't booked, and one DJ that doesn't really do club shows, so that would be probably one. But that is one that, if he came up, I would just say yes straight away, which business-wise makes 0 sense, like 0 sense. But I would just do it anyway. Apart from that, I don't know, maybe there's a lot of acts I'd like to book, but I think that it's hard to make them fit within the DBE brand, I suppose. Yeah. A lot of them we've already booked. So.
Cool. Does anyone have any questions?
Thanks for listening as well. Appreciate that.
Well, yeah.
I'll ask you. Hi, Bas.
Hello, Simon.
Just 2 questions. Who's been your favourite ever DJ that you've watched at DBE, and what's been your favourite ever party?
Favourite DJ? There's been loads, but one that springs to mind like straight away was Person of Interest that we booked last year. We booked him on a whim really, because DJ House said, he messaged me and said, can you please put this guy on? It'll cost 100 quid. I was like, yeah, no worries. And he turned up, and he was from New York, and he was doing a tour, and he turned up and he played at 11, I think he played 11 till half 12. And he played like just vinyl, and it was just a lesson in sort of DJing at that time for a start, playing vinyl and playing records that shouldn't really have worked at that time or any time at DBE, but they did, and it was great, and it was like amazing. Definitely that. What was that, best party? The other one.
Or one that you had most fun at?
One that I had most fun at was when we did Dubbra. We did a secret party in a pub called The Trap in Barrow upon Soar. Barrow upon Soar is a little village that's about 5 miles that way. And my friend, who will stay unnamed, took over a pub, bought it basically, and was changing it into a nursery. But there was this window where nothing was happening. So I said, let me put a party on. And we put this party on. It was like 7 p.m. till 1 a.m. And we turned up, and the DJ box was built in like this children's play area of this pub. And that was real fun. Yeah, real fun. Yeah, that was a good party.
Like, on the actual nights of DBE, do you get time to enjoy yourself, or are you busy like organising and making sure everything's going okay?
No, I definitely enjoy myself, for sure. Like, we try and keep it like straight till about 1 o'clock, 1:30, and then, because you got to remember, it's not just me, obviously, there's a team of us that work there. Like, I think at the October one, I don't remember the exact number, but there was probably 20 odd people that were working. I can't do DBE without the people that work for us, and work with us every day, and like stage managers and the people that work beforehand, like Dom and Alex this year, will look after sort of parts of the halls and stuff and make sure that they're all okay, and reps are all doing what they need to be doing. Yeah, this is not a one-man show. This is totally a team thing. Do you know what I mean? So of course, I get to enjoy myself. Otherwise, what's the point? I guess.
Any others?
Go on, Morgan.
How have you seen the different genres of electronic music sort of change over the years, and how has that affected DBE and the way you book artists and promote it and stuff?
Yeah, great question. Electronic music's always changed, I guess. So what we try and do at DBE is put on well-known artists that people will obviously want to see, and then try and back them up with artists that are emerging, coming through, or a legend. I think we've tried to do that from like the full days of DBE. Obviously when it started as Dub Bro, it was a dubstep night, and we booked a lot of dubstep DJs as far as the guests went, but then the residents were always quite varied as well. I think it's more about being in the scene and knowing like where the scene's going. So like at the moment, for example, like techno is the buzzword, yeah, which is great, and like there's a lot of awesome techno out there, and there's so many fragments of techno as well. Like you've got like the industrial stuff, and you've got like the Adam Beyer sort of drum code stuff, which can be interpreted in like different ways. So you can, like the industrial stuff, somebody might just not call it techno, yeah, or the Adam Beyer stuff, or the drum code stuff, sorry, will be sort of labelled as something else once again. But yeah, I suppose it's just about just about listening to the newer stuff out there, or the up and coming stuff, and just being ingrained in the scene. If you're ingrained in the scene, you'll see what's coming through, I guess. Like a DJ at the moment that's really like exciting, she's just done an Essential mix, he's High, and like her Essential mix was like unbelievable, but that's almost world music, do you know what I mean? Like she just did a cross section of absolutely everything, and that's like down the road of Giles Peterson. So yeah, but you know, I'd happily book her for a DBE because the Essential mix was that good, and like listening to other mixes in the cross section of music that she plays is like important for people to hear, and for her to gel it together the way she does is awesome, you know what I mean? So yeah.
What is the best requested tune that you've ever had over the DJ?
Last night. So last night I did a party in one of Four Kegs kitchens, and this is a true story, right? Yeah, basically I'll DJ anywhere for a start. And obviously the guy was being trying to be clever, but he came up to me and said, "Oi mate, can you play some Tom Zacchetti?" So I was like, "You're an idiot, mate." And it's Tom Zanetti. But yeah, that's the stupidest request I've ever had, and it was very recent.
You've mentioned like how much your music's changed, all that sort of stuff. How much has it changed like the process of an upcoming person? So from like your perspective now, you'd be the one hiring or like booking. So what does it take like nowadays for someone to like catch your eye, or you know, just gain sort of like a general interest?
DJ wise, yeah? There's some wicked DJs out at the moment actually, like around, like really good DJs. I think all the residents that we've ever had have always had, well, one, they're like decent people. Like, that's probably the first thing I look for. Like, are you sound? If you're not sound, then you're not. You just don't fit into like our sort of like group of DJs that we have that play for us. That you'll have like KRS Skills, who's like a drum and bass DJ, but you know he'll listen to everything that the house guys or the disco guys have got to say. And then you've got like, you'll have like Ian, like Samyad, who plays for us, who's like an awesome like breaks DJ, who's like nearer my age, who's such a great DJ, and like musically, he's so switched on, like whether that might be like down tempo stuff or whatever it might be, he's like solid, but he's open to everything. So I think when you're looking at bringing DJs on board, they've got to be like original. So playing like the Beatport top 20 is sound. There's no wrong with that. Like it's fine, because that's how, like ultimately that's how I got into DJing, by playing the most like listening to the most commercial records and buying the most commercial records in that scene. When I say commercial, I mean like in the scene, and then playing them and then developing my sound from that point onwards. But when you find a DJ that's like a bit just got something else about them, that whether they're like awesome at mixing, or you can tell they've had like that extra 70 hours practice that makes them blend a couple of records together like a way that you wouldn't think, or they're playing a style of music that you're looking for, like to introduce into DBE, but like everybody else is playing one style of music, and this certain person is doing something different. And yeah, you have to look for individuality, I suppose. That's what I'm getting at, I guess. Yeah, that's it really. They just need to want it, I guess. You know what I mean? And do their own thing. Like, don't try and start DJing because you want to play at DBE. Start DJing because you want to start DJing. You know, like that's the story there, I guess.
I think that's just about all the questions. Oh, no, I'm not. Sorry.
Adam Bay's not techno.
That was it. So most like nights seem to like focus on like a specific genre as such. Like obviously, like Elrow, for example, is like tech house. Then you got like resistance techno or whatever drum and bass night is.
Yeah.
And the different thing about DB I've noticed is that it's like it kind of covers the whole spectrum. Like, did you do that for a love of music or from a business standpoint?
No. The reason that, like you say, the nights you mentioned, Elrow, like the Resistance, these nights start in major cities, you know, so they've got the market to do that. You know, Elrow, yeah, like you say, it's more tech house and house, but that's not what Elrow is it? Elrow is more about the production. I imagine if drum and bass was massive in Spain when they started, that would be a drum and bass night. So, yeah, I would say I started the multi-genre thing at DBE goes back to that DBE is a night, and I've always said this, and I'm hoping that it will always be like this. It's a point of entry for people to get into electronic music. So I feel that it's important for us as promoters to give everyone a cross-section of all styles of electronic music. There is certain styles that I don't like, so I won't do it. But as a rule, house, drum and bass, pumping house, I'm going to call it, not techno, I would say are sort of staple in what we do. Grime, we've delved into grime a little bit DJ-wise, but not act-wise, because personally I'm not a massive fan of it. So I don't see like how it would incorporate itself into one of our nights. But yeah, I'm a believer of DB being like an entry point for people that come to uni that might never have heard dance music, to come to DB and go, oh yeah, I like that. Or like for every 100 people that come to DB for the first time, I'm pretty sure 40, maybe 50% of them will go away and go, I didn't like that, and just won't come back, which is great because that's good that people make that choice, but at least they've been exposed to it. And then you'll get the 50%, I think it's 50, it might be less, but that will go away and go, right, I like that style of music, I like DB, I'm going to go to DBE. And then after a year or two, they'll then go, right, actually, I like this style of music, and DB is not my cup of tea anymore, because now I'm into like Richie Hawtin, or I'm into Craig Richards, but what I hope DB has done is open their eyes to like going and trying to go to Stealth in Nottingham, going to Fabric, going to Printworks, going to the Warehouse Project, going to Outlook Festival, going to Hideout Festival, going to Love International, you know, like just opening people's minds, going ministry, and just, yeah, entry level clubbing, I suppose, is the term that I've used in the past. But obviously it's down to us to book like the DJs for them to go away and go, I like that music, or I like that DJ, do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's good. We've had some great things that people have said that have played at DBE, which is like really humbling, and you know, I think that's the key, making sure that everyone has fun, and if they don't have fun, at least they've come and tried it, you know, that's the main thing. Don't talk to me if you've never, don't say that you don't like it if you've never been, I guess. Yeah, like I can say I don't like going to Revolutions on a Saturday, Yeah, because then that's not the style of music I like, and I don't want to pay that much for a drink in somewhere that I don't like. Like, I'll pay that much for a drink in somewhere that I like. Like, that's not. I'm not saying that Revs is bad because it's rammed, and the person who owns Revs has got loads more money than me, and if that's what floats his boat, that's fine. But personally, I don't. That's not what I like. Like, I've expanded my musical horizons, and I go out to listen to music. I don't go out to just booze, like.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much. I'll just say, have you got anything coming up that you want to talk about that's in the next couple of weeks?
Yep, got a secret party next Thursday, but that's sold out, so can't come to that unless you've got a ticket. Yeah, December the 13th, we've got a DBE Christmas party. Yeah, we'll call it Christmas party. Yeah, we've got Mackie G with Ice. Well, I'm going to go through the lineup. Mackie G with IC3, Hazard with MCAD, Rennie Levice with Too Shy, Exile, who's a new guy, hopefully a new guy that you guys will like afterwards. The Residents, and then up here we've got DJ House back-to-back, DJ Boring, which I'm super proud of, like, getting locked in for Loughborough. That's massive for me. Dixon Avenue Basement Jams from Scotland, Naira, who we've had here a couple of times, who's doing great things. His label's like amazing, Canoe Records. And then in Cogs we'll be doing DB Does Disco with The Residents and headlined by Sleazy Wonder.
I didn't know that, but yeah, wicked.
You do now, mate. Yeah. Exclusive for everyone. And then yeah, 2019 we're going to carry on and do stuff like, let's see what happens. Exciting times ahead, I can say that. For me anyway.
So thank you very much for talking. What I think this really highlights is Pasca's not only a well-known DJ, but he's also an excellent businessman. He's built something from nothing and he's come up with a cool idea. And obviously, it sounds like we've got a few of his mates down here who are very involved in it. So if we can all put our hands together to say a massive thank you for Pasca. And I hope you'll look out for the next one in the series, which will be Lead Like a Champion, and we'll let you know about that in the future. So thank you very much for coming. Have a safe journey home, and yeah, cool. Well done, buddy.
Thanks very much.
Yeah. Killed it. Can we take a photo and then, excuse me.